All praise, glory, is most certainly due to the Most High, the God of the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to you in the name of His Son, Jesus. I count it truly a blessing each and every single time that I can come before to preach the Word of God, and never do I count it as a thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm coming on late, and I'm gonna be not long. I'm gonna be brief this evening, and I mean it. I remember one sister said, "You say that all the time," and one time I did a lesson. It was about maybe 10 minutes. She was 15 minutes. She was like, "You meant it that time." I mean it this time as well. I just want to deal with a basic thing, and that is the new covenant. And the new covenant, whether or not it nullifies the law, because that's the teaching that's taught, that we're under the new covenant, we no longer have to keep the law. And that's just not accurate. And the Bible's simply not telling you that. So I want to go over that very briefly, but I want to start off with the old covenant, the Exodus, the 19th chapter, because what happened is that the Most High went into a covenant with an agreement with a particular people. This is Exodus, the 19th chapter. And I'm going to pick it up at verse 5. Exodus 19. Actually, let's pick it up at verse 3. It says, "And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel." So this is the peace to you, Brother Marcus. This is who this covenant is with. Then he said, "Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I brought you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself. Did I bear you on eagle's wings and brought you unto myself?" Excuse me. Verse 5. "Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant." So now it's a proposal. This is like comparable to marriage. Peace to you, Brother Joshua. This is comparable to marriage. He is married unto this people, like the covenant of marriage. So he says, "Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine." So will you peace to you, Brother Michael? Good to see you there, brother. So it says in verse 6, "And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel." So he's proposing a covenant, and the people have to actually agree to it. Okay. So when it's proposed in verse 7, it says, "And Moses came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him." Verse 8, "And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord." So they agreed. So now Moses, as a liaison, he brings what the Most High told the people, and then the people tell him, and he takes that back to the Most High. So now let's go to Exodus 24th chapter, because here we see the ratification of this covenant. They actually go into this covenant, and you're going to see that blood is involved. This is Exodus, the 24th chapter. It reads as follows in verse 3. "And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice and said, All the words which the Lord has said will we do." So they agreed. Now let's see what happens. "And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, building an altar under the hill, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar." So now you have blood, but it's the blood of animals. "And he took the book of the covenant." See, they're going to a covenant once again. So they understand what they're supposed to do. "And read in the audience of the people, and they said, All that the Lord has said will we do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, Behold, the blood of the covenant, which the Lord had made with you concerning all these words." So now they go into an agreement. He'll be their God. They have to be obedient unto him. But immediately we understand that they didn't have a mindset to do what they said they would do. Exodus, the 32nd chapter. Because we understand that he told them, "Have no other gods before me." He showed he was the true and living God when he delivered them with a mighty deliverance from Egypt on eagle's wings. But what did Israel do? Exodus 32 and verse 1. "And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mountain, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we were not what is become of him. Meaning we don't know what has become of him. But regardless of whatever would have happened to Moses, you had no business making some gods, some false gods. I even think about the concept, we're gonna create a god. That shows you the arrogancy of man. So Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me. And all the people break off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fastened it with a graven tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. But it wasn't them. That's not the gods who did it. That's just like Jeroboam did a similar thing. He was afraid that the people would go up to Jerusalem after the kingdom had split and turn back to the house of David. So what did he do? He made him some false gods. Said, these be the gods, O Israel, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt. No, and they fell for it then. But that's tomfoolery. Because even when you look at one thing, and I want to read this here in the 10 Commandments. This is Exodus, the 20th chapter. And God, in verse 1, and God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord, which thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. It wasn't some other gods. He had manifested himself unto them. But they immediately, what did they do? They went and they, and they sinned. And they made a god. So now, and broke the covenant. And then it was so bad that he eventually kicked them out of the land. I want to read this here back in let's go to Matthew the 24th chapter. Matthew the 24th chapter. Because I want to see what the Messiah came to do. Because people say, well, we under the new covenant, we not under that old covenant. Well, the question is, we under the new covenant, but does the new covenant mean we don't have to keep the law? Because that's what's taught in many Christian churches. That's what I was taught. Matthew the 26th chapter and verse 26. Matthew 26 and 26. It reads as follows. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. So now he took up his instruments of priesthood. Okay, just to show you this, let's just hold our finger here and go to Genesis, the 14th chapter. Genesis 14. Genesis 14, and we're going to pick it up at verse 17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer. This is after Abram went to work, him and his servants, and he delivered Lot. Okay, him and 318 of his trained servants, they went to war. And they recovered Lot and all the people and all the goods. But then let's see something that happened here, because there was a Most High revealed himself unto him. So in verse 17 it says, and the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer, and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Sheva, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God. And he blessed him and said, blessed be Abram of the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand. And he gave him tithes of all. So you got to think about it. If Abraham is paying him tithes, I mean, he was above Abraham. And it tells you who Melchizedek was. Just go to Hebrews. Just a side note. Let's go to Hebrews. And we'll pick it up at chapter 7 and verse 1. It says, for this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham, returning from the slaughter of the kings, and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace. Now we know this Melchizedek is not an average man. It says, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the Son of God, abideth the priest continually. See, he's not like you. We know who Abraham's father was. We can look at the lineage and see that. But this one, without father, without mother, without descent, having not the beginning of days nor end of life, Alpha and Omega, beginning and the end, first and the last, the same yesterday and today and forever. I am. So that's talking about him, and he's a priest forever, because in his priesthood is a perpetual priesthood, because he doesn't die out of office like the priest. But nevertheless, it says in Matthew 26 and verse 26, and as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. So he takes the bread and he takes the wine, verse 27, and he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. Then he says something, verse 28, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. So the blood of the New Testament, that's the new covenant. That's what the testament is. It was shed for the remission of sins. Okay? But now, does that mean we don't have to keep the law? Well, let's look at what the new covenant is. Let's go to the book of Hebrews, and this is it. See, I told you I'm going to keep you too long. Hebrews, the 8th chapter. Hebrews, the 8th chapter. And we'll pick it up at verse 7. Hebrews, actually, let's pick it up at verse 1. It says, now of the things which we have spoken, this is the sum. We have such an high priest who is set on the right hand of the throne of the majesty in the heavens. Who is this high priest? None other than Jesus. He says, I'm going to pick it up at getting to the new covenant. In verse 6, it said, but now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. But if that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. So now we should understand that it wasn't the covenant that was the problem that he made, it was the people. Verse 8, for finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, saith the Lord. Now listen to this, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So it's made with the same people. And then what are the terms? He said, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts. And I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. Putting the law in your heart and in your mind. He said, I'll put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts. That doesn't sound like he's doing the new covenant nullifies the law, brothers and sisters. So with that, I want to remind you that we're at the Household of Faith meet every Sabbath at 5925 West 25th Avenue in Gary, Indiana at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. We live stream right here on the Israel Teach YouTube channel, as well as at www.israelteach.org. If you've been notified through the ministry and would like to leave a donation, you can do so on our website, www.israelteach.org. 100% of the proceeds go to the work of the ministry. We have Bible study every Wednesday on Zoom at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the personal meeting ID number for that is 845-7108-8849. And you can look at the description of the lesson. We have Bible study every Friday night as well at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. 602-961-1318. 602-961-1318. That's on Zoom as well. That's the personal meeting ID number 602. If you got questions, that's what you can ask. 602-961-1318 every Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And our services are at 1 p.m. Central. Our Saturday services are 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. And with that, brothers and sisters, I want to mention the books that I've written. Enter Egypt Begin with Ships. These are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and as well as on our website. Killing Black Innocents, the program to control African American reproduction from slavery into the present day self-inflicted genocide. The pagan origins of Christian holidays. Hair like wool, feet like burned brass, the color of Jesus and burning shoes concerning the Messiah. In defense, for then should be great tribulation, and in defense of biblical polygyny. All these books are available. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you were edified.